Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you may be, or good evening or good night. This is Jen at JensArtyInclinations, a place to create, share and play. Hi everyone, I'm back and today I wanted to do one of those little flippy things that you do inside covers because I have my little magic folder here and I wanted to pop it in the cover. So I did a pocket, and really you'll just see me playing about. Now this little piece that I'm folding here, it's nothing more than a shopping bag. So it's just a local supermarket paper bag and I'm just using that as my base because I'll cover it so you won't see any of the logo, although I actually only end up using the right strip. So here I'm just scoring myself a little tab that it'll flap out from, and I'm measuring the room that I need to hold the little magic folder. So that's the whole reason that I did this. Now, I do have a video on how I did this little folder flippy thing, so I'll make sure that that's linked below, so in the description, so that you can go and have a look at how to make that if you'd like to. However, look, today I'm just kind of playing it by ear, seeing how it works. At this point, I'm still thinking that I'm going to include the right-hand side. I had these visions of lots of extra little flips and little tucks and things that you could, pull up and pull down and all of that. I ended up going more simple, and yet it still works quite effectively. So here I'm just adding a bit of strength to the edge of the bottom flap that I'm using as the pocket. So I'm just folding in that corner. I've tapered the edges just so that it doesn't catch. Gluing it down with lots of glue because I'd like this to be extra strong because it's on the inside cover. So then I'm covering my pocket just with a strip of music page, inking the edges. And again, you'll see I probably use a lot more glue in this one than I normally would just because it's on the inside cover, as I said. Now, on the inside, using masking tape to again add strength. And I'm covering all the surfaces, and that's another thing that helps add strength. So these paper bags are very strong on their own, but it's great to just add a little bit when things are going to be folded a lot. So this is the tab that I'm going to be folding it out from the book. So masking tape on one side of that, again, helps. So what have we got? Okay, so I'm just scoring the flap that will actually, at this stage, I'm still thinking about it in my head, but I'm thinking that will be the flap that flips it out from the book, the flip, the flap, the flop, and then we'll have the bottom pocket that it'll go into. Now I decided, yes, I definitely want a top piece flapping over that once you open it up. This, you saw it at the beginning quickly, but I'll make sure that you see it all working at the end again. So just covering with this lovely piece. Now this is going on the inside cover of my steampunk journal that, I'm trying to have a go at doing those kind of designs too, as well as my normal shabby, grungy, vintagey kind of look. So again, that top piece, instead of making that a flap, because this is the bit that flips down, I'm going to fold that in. So that way it just adds a little bit of strength on one of those edges. So one side is covered, one side has a nice strong edge, and then as you can see that flaps down over the bottom pocket quite nicely. All right, then I'm rounding my corners because I feel like that gives it a nice finish. And I'm inking everything as I go. So on the bottom, I decided instead of making that a pocket, just to give the little folder a bit of extra room, I've rounded the corners so that it's just a flap that you pop in. And see here, I'm cutting all the left-hand side off. So, I could use those scraps as extra pockets and so forth, not a problem. Here, this adds, again, another little bit of strength on the left-hand side of that bottom flap. So folding that over on the back, and I'll cover that, so that's all fine. So then we have a really nice strong flap on the bottom there that will hold the magic folder nicely. I did a bit of, just with the ink pad, one of my little mini ink pads, I sort of rubbed it over the surface so I could pick up some of those folds. And this is, all about layering. And then I do ink all the edges as well. And I think I covered that whole page. But if anything's peeking through, then, hey, I've got you covered, so to speak. So glued it down, and I actually used the Tim Holtz collage medium to glue this piece of tissue down. It's actually some of the wrapping paper that, Witchcraft You Do send out to us. It's lovely, isn't it? When they wrap our products, when they send them to us. Anyway, just trim that off around the edges because that's the best way rather than trying to cut a piece of tissue paper. That's really hard to cut a piece of tissue paper to the exact size. So, sometimes you could even just sand it off with a sanding block. Then a bit of pianola paper on the inside. I managed to pick up some fabulous pianola rolls recently, and they were all matte pianola paper. I love them. Anyway, so popped that down as a bit of a background on the inside. And then I just thought, let's make something a little bit different on the music paper that I'm putting on the inside, because the inside cover is music paper. So I thought just to add a touch of difference, and let's face it, I wanted to play with some mixed media. So using my little stamping mat, splodging out, spraying some water over the ink blots, then splodging them out with my finger so that there's no hard lines. And I've learnt that the trick to splodging your paper with ink is dry it in between, and then you get a lovely layered effect. And also, I'm no longer afraid of cleaning off my mat again and making it a nice clean stamping piece, again, spraying it with the water, because then I don't get that muddy look and every single one is nice and clean. So I did that a few times, dried it in between, and that really did just help make it look really nice and layered. And I used a mixture of oxide and ink because oxide is not see-through. Ink does have that slight see-through in the Tim Holtz collection. And so then again, that adds to your layering effect. And you can actually then go over it afterwards and use your dauber and run the whole thing over with ink if you don't want to see any white show through. So then I added a little side pocket on that front piece. So just gluing it down as a nice flap so that there's no risk of that coming through, and then a really thin strip on each edge, the top and the bottom edge, just making sure that it's really nicely on that edge, pressing it down so that there's nothing that's going to catch at all once you slide your piece in, and then doing a really thin strip of glue top and bottom, and that makes a side pocket. So that's the front piece that everyone will see. Now, I decided it'd be really cute if I had not just a journal card in the side pocket, but also a little notepad on the front. So like a little, I don't know what else to say, a little notepad. So I'm waterfalling these pages, just 3 pages, 3 strips. And then I found if you stagger how you hold them and fold them over, then you get this lovely long waterfall effect. So see how I've got those 3 separate pieces, but I've just staggered them and then folded them over. Really easy way to do a little waterfall notebook. And then all I did was I added a topper. Kept with the music theme, this seems to have a bit of a music theme in it. So rounding the corners of a really thin strip, and then that makes a really nice topper. So doing that on one side and then just measuring to see where I need to cut it. There we are. And rounding the corners on that side too. So then you get a lovely topper piece that's nice and thin, slips across the top. And I'm actually using the little trick that, was it Kerry over at Witchcraft You Do with her little notepads that she did recently? So little hole on both sides, and then just putting a split pin through either side. Loved that look. And of course that, with the metal and so forth, goes really well with the whole steampunk look. So then I push that the whole way through my front little flap there, and then I'll just cover the back. So you can see that's the pianola paper on the other side. Just really pressing those down nice and flat using just, the back of my dobber, and then covering it. So I line that up with the edges, this little piece that I'm covering over. It's a slightly thicker piece of paper, tore the bottom edge just to give it a bit of a rustic look, and then it lines up nicely. So glued that down over, and voila, no one will ever know that those split pins are underneath. But yeah, using that split pin technique, really nice for that particular kind of notepad, because I know that it's going to hold firm and it's not going to risk falling out at all. Otherwise, I'd, have to glue that whole back sheet down, and I don't know, just wouldn't be as effective with the metal. Here, doing a rough working out how much I'm going to fold, because I thought, now that I'm doing a little notepad there, I'll do a little tri-fold notepad in the top. And then that's something else that you can flip out again once you get inside. So that sits nicely. Doing a little piece across the top that matches that piece that I did on the bottom. And then I'll just trim the edge there. And then I'm stamping the background before I pop my notepad in. So it is hard to see. It's when you see it in real life, this stamping does actually show up more. So you do get a nice bit of contrast behind the actual notepad to indicate that, there is something else there. I mean, I might go back and ink over it. I might not. So all I did was stapled this in. I love a staple. Love seeing a staple. I don't know what it is about staples, but I've always loved them. I fell in love with sticky tape and paper when I was little, and then I discovered staples, and, it was just heaven as a kid. All right, so I'm masking off here so that I can just stamp a strip across the bottom of that little tri-fold as well. I love how that gives you a nice line. So there you are. That's what I'm gluing into my book. Did a little bit more stamping just subtly. So masked off a little piece on the inside flap on the top just to do a bit of that script stamping again, and a little bit on the bottom right. Just really subtle. You can hardly see that in real life as well. It's just to give a hint, really. So gluing that down on the inside top piece, and voila, we got a little tri-fold. So I think I'm pretty close to finished here. I thought on that little tri-fold it was nice to have just another strip across the bottom as well. Oh yes, I also did. I had this journal card that I made up from this image. I love it. It's a typewriter that's got a beach background. I thought that was a bit, cool. So I had a bit of trouble. So I'm not putting you through the drama I had of doing the little, the little eyelets. But I put eyelets on all four corners. And again, I just thought they looked really cool. Now I'm gluing the whole thing into the book. So I'm using my silicone glue, my 514 or whatever it's called, as well as my art glitter, because I really want this to stick in. So I glued it down, and then I put a strip of calico over the top. And that, adds a bit of a nice finish, but it also adds a bit more strength. Little bit of decorating. I just did a strip of paper and one of the paper dolls that Tim Holtz does. And then I added a little tab, a long tab actually, on the edge, because I just wanted an indication that you flipped it. I thought, not a thumb hole in this case, a tab. So there we are. Magic folder sits nicely inside. And then we flip it all down. Now, added a little word as well. I'm covered the back of the journal card because I did a really dodgy job on the back of my little ringlets and they were catching. Ringlets, eyelets, you know what I'm talking about. So there we are. That is the little journal card and covered on the back so it slips in and out very nicely. There's the little notebook. So that's nice and secure. Remember, because the split pins go all the way through. Flipping it open with the nice little tab, and then that piece flips up and we have our trifold. So this folds out to have another little notepad on the inside. So this is all just on the inside cover, a bit of fun before you even start. And then this is the magic folder. I'll just show you quickly, but as I say, I have a video on how I made this. So it opens up to a secret picture inside, and that's like a secret map. And then on the back, if you fold it in half, there's also a little secret note section that you can use. And then it's just a normal folder again and no one knows. It's got all those little secret things inside. So there we are. It all flips back down into the cover. Hope you enjoyed. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you soon. I'd love it if you could leave me a comment below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed what you saw today. And of course, please subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you next time. And in the meantime, keep creating. Enjoy.